guys, it's Allison, attorney in California, and today I wanted to show you the top 5 cringeworthy freakout moments. People in public when they're freaking out and having throwing fits in public, hissy fits in public, they love to throw the law out there, cite the law, or sometimes they're totally ignorant of the law and do things that go against the law. So I wanted to show you some of my favorite, just because they're entertaining and the most like, wow, you're really ignorant of the law moments, and apply my legal analysis to them. So let's get going.
We want to know, are you an adult or not, and what the hell are you doing hanging out here?
They're being inappropriate. I work here.
I want the police to show up.
And I'm their friend. We're hanging out. That's
I
all
want
we're
the
doing.
police to show up. Y'all want to create a scene? We gonna create a scene. Record it. I want the police to show up. No. I'm gonna talk to these young ladies because I got daughters.
What are you talking to me for?
No. I'm talking to grown women, right? Step back. Step back. Step back. Sir, I need you to step back. You military police? Are these adults or young women? Are these adults or young women? Because I'm authority figure here, and I will make this scene happen. Are you an adult or are you a child?
How about you mind your business?
Guy, I don't know what this guy's problem is. He seems to have some sort of control issue and is power tripping over what he thinks. He's an authority figure. I don't even know what that means. He's not in uniform or anything. So my interpretation of this is that he feels bullied and pushed around in his own life. So he projects that onto these young women at it looks like they're outside of a grocery store or something. And I love the young woman's reaction because she chimes in and just says, why don't you mind your own business? And she's right. This is none of his freaking business how old they are, and it is none of his freaking business what their business is at this location. I don't even think he works for this company. He just sort of showed up and started harassing these young women. So in my opinion, this would constitute harassment. You know, they ask him to leave them alone several times and he doesn't. And at that point, you know, I think it does start to get towards the boundary of being criminal, or at least constituting a restraining order, you know, because to qualify for harassment it has to be repeated behavior. And so it's clear that you know, he is repeating the harassing behavior even after being told to leave the young ladies alone. But he keeps going. Watch.
How about you mind your business? All you gotta do is mind your business. You a grown ass man talking to us. You need to mind your business.
Are you coming in here? Are you selling your body to military men?
What? And no, sir, we just chilling. That's all we doing.
To military men?
He was harassing us. He came in here talking about, oh,
Are you selling your body to military men? Record that.
Y'all out of high school, right? And then we were like, we're literally.
Are you selling your body as a prostitute to military men out of Chipotle? And I will turn this thing up. Tell them and ask, are these women hanging out here for military men to pick y'all up? Because I was a dean at Bailey, and they had young ladies that they were selling out here.
Standing here in my uniform, and you think I'm selling myself, says something about what's going on in your business.
We gonna find out.
This is getting your rocks off right now.
We gonna find out. We gonna find out. Please let this go viral. Are the military men from North Las Vegas, Nellis Air Force Base, are they running a game out of Chipotle, whatever that is? Are y'all got underage women out here? Little girls? Is that what's going on?
Saying that we were fine. Oh, y'all better be out of high school.
We will find out if y'all prostituting out of Chipotle.
Prostituting out of Chipotle, or as he calls it, Chipotle. Wait, Chipotle. How does he say it? Chipotle? Yeah, I don't know this guy's off his rocker. Something I think is wrong with him. He's accusing these young women of being prostitutes and accusing the military of somehow being involved. I think, you know, at this point, it seems like maybe he has some paranoid delusions or schizophrenia, Or again, maybe he's just like on some sort of weird power trip because of things that are going on in his life. But I'm so proud of these young women who don't skip a beat. They have a response for everything that he says, and they really truly are standing up for themselves as young women, just minding their own business and trying to get this guy away from them.
When I become the governor, I'm gonna find out.
You came over here talking about y'all sexy, y'all cute.
I hope you're telling the truth. Are they coming? Because I'll start recording this stuff myself. Because I was a dean up there, and I watched how the military men took advantage of these little girls. And I want to know what the hell is going on. Is the military pimping y'all? You talking too much, baby. If it ain't the truth, what you talking about?
Sir, please
Stop talking.
Sir, please stop talking to my associates.
Get your employees. Make sure they ain't up here selling ass to nobody. You selling ass? I don't want you. Trust me, I don't want you. You ain't got no intellect.
And now we can see that a lady that seems to be perhaps these young women's employees of Chipotle is stepping in on their behalf and trying to defend her employees and asking the man to stop. If I were her, I would have gone a step further and trespassed him, which means, tell him to leave, or else he's gonna, you're gonna call the police and tell him he's not welcome to come back. And if he doesn't leave, and or if he ever comes back, then you'll press charges for trespassing. That's what I would have done. But I think all of the women in this situation are really handling this crazy man really well and standing up for themselves, which I love.
Going to report you to Trump itself.
Okay.
Trump himself.
You're very welcome to report us to Trump himself after we're done here.
Yeah, this guy is intentionally shining the light into the camera, so I cannot record him.
All right. Can you listen to me for a second? Can I talk now?
I don't talk to cops.
Okay.
You
I'm
can
a police
talk.
officer in the city of Cotati. Okay. Your registration is expired.
What is your badge? What is your badge number?
It's 345.
345.
Your registration's
What else?
expired. And you've been stopped legally, right?
What is your badge number?
It's 345. I just said it.
Where is it? I need to see it.
It's 345.
No, I need to see your nameplate and your number.
There you go.
Where is it? Where is the number? B. Mitchell. Can you turn this way? I'm gonna.
Yeah, I can do that when you give me your driver's license.
No, you have to identify yourself first.
You also have to identify yourself.
After.
Hello.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Pretty good. You?
What is your badge number?
338.
Where is it?
It's not the same badge number.
B. Gallo.
Yep.
Officer.
Yep. So, sir,
Yeah,
you know who we are. So can you show us your identification?
What I know is that you are interfering with my constitutional rights. Right to travel on the public roads is a right, unalienable right by Constitution, and you are interfering.
Okay, so there are a few issues with what this sovereign citizen is saying, and he is very similar. The things that he is saying are very similar to other rants of videos like this where sovereign citizens are arguing with police when they get pulled over, saying that they're traveling and that the right to travel cannot be impeded by a police officer. And so the first, under the U.S. Constitution, the first problem with that is that the right to travel actually deals with three different issues. The right to travel between states, so enter one state and leave the other, without having to go through some sort of an immigration process. The right to be treated as a welcome visitor in that state rather than a hostile stranger. And for those that become residents of a new state, that they have the same rights as those natives that were born in that state. In specifically, the Supreme Court, in a court ruling called Crandall versus Nevada, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the that right to travel does not give any particular right to any particular mode of travel, such as driving an automobile. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the police cannot stop you. It doesn't even mean you don't even have a right to drive or travel in your automobile. Driving an automobile is actually a privilege that each state gives its citizens. And so the second problem with this sovereign citizen argument that they're not driving, they're traveling, or that you can't impede their traveling, is that even if that was a right, even if that driving a car was a constitutional right, which is not, but if let's pretend that it was, for the sake of this argument, if it were a constitutional right, the court, if the government has a compelling government interest, then the government can violate your constitutional rights, only if they have a compelling government interest. Time and again, it has been proven and held in court that pulling someone over to protect the public or to enforce different laws of the state is indeed a compelling government interest. So police can pull people over as long as they have probable cause, such as you don't have your registration's expired, or you've got a headlight out, or you're driving crazy, or you're speeding, or whatever the case may be. If you're violating some sort of transportation law in that state, the police absolutely can pull you over. They can detain you. Most states, I think, have like a 20-minute limit, and then they either have to cite you, arrest you, or let you go. But so those are the two major issues with saying that you can't pull me over, you can't impede my right to travel. As police officers, they absolutely can impede your right to travel because they have a compelling government interest to keep the public safe from speeding cars or people who aren't licensed, etc.
Interfering with my constitutional right, and I am going to report you to Trump itself.
Okay.
Trump
that's fine.
himself.
You're very welcome to report us to Trump himself after we're done here.
Mm-hmm.
In the state of California, if you are driving and an officer observes a violation, stops you for said violation, you're required to identify you, provide registration, and insurance.
I am not required to do anything.
You are, sir.
Look.
This police officer is handling this great, by the way. This guy doesn't have a clue. He thinks he does. He thinks he knows his rights and the law, but he's sadly mistaken. If you're going to operate a motorized vehicle, you do have to have a license for that vehicle. And if you get stopped by the police who are trying to enforce laws, you do have to show your license. And in some states, even proof of registration and insurance are required if you get pulled over. So, a police officer cannot, it has been considered time and again a violation of someone's privacy and travel rights if they're not doing anything wrong and the police are just harassing them, pulling them over for no reason and citing them or requiring identification. In those instances, it has been deemed unconstitutional. But if you're driving and you have engaged in some sort of violation, or the police officer has a compelling interest in keeping the public safe, or if you violated a law or some sort of statute as far as licensure, the police absolutely can pull you over and, they can cite you, they can arrest you even, because these are crimes. So, this guy, he needs to just comply with the police officer. And anytime that you're arguing with a police officer, especially if you're not actually stating the correct laws, you're going to get in trouble. Like, the police are human, and they have a patience limitation at some point too. And the best way to handle a traffic stop is to keep your hands where you can see them and do everything that the police officer is saying. As long as you can record. I highly recommend recording anytime you get pulled over. Recording, you absolutely can do that. You can even ask the officer do the same on his or her body cam. And then later, if you feel like your rights have been violated, you can sue in court. And if you, in the videos, you're appearing very compliant and reasonable, and you are cooperating with the police officer, you're going to have a much stronger case.
Get up. I am not required. Am I free to go?
You are not free to go.
Okay. Then you're keeping me here under duress against my constitutional rights.
Okay, you believe in the Trump and the law and all that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write you a ticket, and I'm going
to write you 3 tickets.
Okay.
All 3 of you.
You can. And then what we'll do is we're going to have you sign the ticket. It's not an admission of guilt.
I'm not signing anything.
Okay, then we're going to have to take you to jail.
No, you can't.
Yeah, we can.
You have no right. You're already overstepping your jurisdiction.
Well,
I am not in a commercial capacity here.
And I'll give you a souvenir for us overstepping our bounds, and we can talk about it in court, okay?
What souvenir?
I'll give you a ticket. And it'll
You
explain
can give me
on
a
there.
ticket, but I'm not signing anything.
Okay, well, if you don't sign it, then I don't have a choice but to take you to jail. That's up to you. You think about that for a moment.
No. It's gonna be worse for you if you do that. I demand to be let free right now.
That's not happening.
Well, I demand it. I demand to be let free right now.
You can be let free after you sign the promise to appear in court for the citation. How does that sound?
Okay, fine.
Yeah?
Yeah, I will sign it.
Okay. Do you believe in the court system or no?
The court system is a fraud. Look into it. You know that your courts are a corporation? I will report all 3 of you. I'm not joking, guys. You will be reported to the White House.
Okay, well you're on camera too, so
Yeah, fine. I'm not doing anything wrong. You guys are.
You can record all you want.
I know.
Yes, sir. The reasons I stopped you. Your bike rack on the back, it's covering the license plate so it can't be read. Your center brake light's out. Okay, do you have your license registration card, sir?
No, I sure do.
Okay. Just have to let you know we record video on all of you.
Yeah, I'm recording as well.
That's fine.
For both
I'm just
houses.
required to tell you. You don't have your license with you?
I sure don't.
Okay. You have one in Maryland?
No, I don't have a license.
You don't have one at all?
No.
Do you have any ID with you?
ID is required for what's the emergency, officer? Why am I being the stop in general? I'm confused. Like,
Because it's a violation of the Maryland Transportation Order. That's why I stopped you.
yeah, but that doesn't apply to me. I'm not a part of the Maryland Transportation anyway. Like, that doesn't apply to private citizens. That applies to people that's a part of the United States Constitution. That applies to people that's a part that has consent with the United States Constitution. I didn't sign. I'm not a part of that.
Okay, well, you're driving a vehicle.
I'm not driving a vehicle. This is an automobile.
Okay, we're
a
driving an
consumer
automobile.
good. Yeah.
What is your last name, sir?
I don't answer questions about why do you need my name? What
Because
crime?
it's required that I document that I stopped you, sir.
But you're not supposed to be stopping me by law because I haven't committed a crime.
Right, you didn't commit a crime. You
Right.
committed a violation of the Maryland
Violations
Transportation-
don't apply to private citizens. Crime does.
No, sir, it does.
No, sir, it doesn't. No, sir, it doesn't. I'm recording as well.
Okay, that's
You
fine.
took an oath for the Constitution, right?
Sir, do you have an ID
You
with
took
you, or
an
do you want
oath
me to
of-
supply me with your information?
Why do I need to supply you?
Because you're driving a vehicle,
Am I under
sir.
custodial arrest?
You're not under arrest.
So why do I even need to answer a question?
You don't need to answer a question.
So why are you
I'm
asking me
for your
questions?
information.
What do you need my information for?
If I need to identify you,
You
I
don't
explain
need
it
to
you.
identify me if I haven't committed a crime.
Okay, well, here's the issue.
It's no issue. You're making an issue
Okay,
right
you
now.
can either supply me with your information
Or-
so I can identify you, or else you're going to be arrested.
Arrested under what grounds?
Because I don't know who you are.
What
You're-
crime have I committed? Right now, you're breaking the Constitution. You're going to arrest me and you have no crime. Who said that I committed something? Who was damaged? Where's the damaged party? You have to point them out. That's a crime. I'm sitting here with paperwork now, and you're still going to stand here thinking that you're an authority. You're not. We're recorded for all our safety.
Okay.
Right now, so what am I going to be arrested for?
For not identifying yourself.
I don't have to identify myself unless it's a crime. You're lying right now.
It's not a crime.
Do you know what a crime is by the United
I
States
never said you
Constitution?
committed a crime. I
Well,
said that you committed a violation of the
so
Maryland
you
Transportation.
cannot have your property or your personal being touched if you did not commit a crime. There has to be a crime. Again, Where's the crime? You're lying under oath right now. You're recorded. I'm not. Did I just not tell you I'm not under transportation article?
Do you want to?
Now you're moving backwards.
Yes
you
or
do
no?
not need information.
Are you going?
This is what you're gonna get from me. This is it. If this not sufficient, you're gonna break into my private property and then you're gonna kidnap me, right?
No, I'm not gonna kidnap you.
Check that out. I got plenty of it. Check it out. Read that, officer.
Your information in here, sir.
You don't need my information. You're redundant right now. You're not getting any information from me because you don't deserve to have it. If it's not a crime, you're not even supposed to stop me.
So this guy is partially right in that if there is no violation of the law, police officers are not supposed to stop you. He is sort of right, but he's misapplying it here. The officer has stated why he's pulled him over and stated a legitimate reason for the stop. So at that point, the guy needs to comply and give his driver's license, which is required in most states. I think all of them actually, by state law. And he needs to just cooperate with the officer. It sucks to be pulled over. You feel very defensive and like you want to defend yourself, but arguing with police officers is just not, it's just not going to get you anywhere. Your best bet is to just comply with them, be nice. Maybe they'll let you off with even a warning and then you're on your way. But if you make a whole big deal out of it, you could end up going to jail for resisting or not cooperating with a peace officer. I chose this next one because it's very dear and close to home for me. I have a disability, and I think that persons with disabilities and our rights under the law are some of the most misunderstood rights, and I think people are most ignorant to those rights because they don't really come across them, they don't affect them much, and so they don't have the opportunities to actually learn about them. In almost every state, you have to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which does provide that if an employee has a disability, you as the employer have to provide reasonable accommodations for that person with the disability. Like for me, I was allowed to be able to work from home because sometimes I have to be lying down to work. I was also given a special seating arrangement where I could put my feet up while I was at my desk, got an ergonomical assessment, etc., etc. So you can have different accommodations, and my employer was most of the time my employers were compliant with this. So that includes people parking in disabled spots if they do have a disability placard. And this manager cannot deny this disabled person the right to park in that handicapped spot because she does indeed have a disability placard. And the manager is trying to tell her she can't park there because that's reserved for customers, but that's a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So let's watch.
This is an issue after 4 weeks because...
What?
This is an issue after 4 weeks because I've been here 4 weeks.
Because I just heard you say it today. That's why.
Wait, what?
An issue? What issue? For what?
I've been here for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I've had a disabled placard for 3 years. I've parked in disabled parking and had a nose ring for over 2 years.
I have not noticed the nose ring until today.
Until today?
Yes.
And you're saying something to me about the disabled parking today because...
I asked my boss if I could say something because it's for customers.
Okay. And did you tell him there's a noticeably obvious displayed disabled placard in a wheelchair accessible van parked in a disabled parking lot?
Wheelchair accessible?
Yeah, did you notice the van?
Well,
yeah.
I'm just saying, that's what my boss told me.
Okay. But did you tell him that information? Did you tell him that I'm a disabled vet and was hired as such?
I did not say you're a disabled vet because there's physically nothing wrong with you.
Uh-oh. This is the point where I go off. That is none of your effing business. It is none of your fucking business whether that employee has something wrong with her or not. She clearly has a disabled placard. And so it is none of your business. You're not allowed to ask her about her disability. And you cannot, it is not your place to say that there's nothing physically wrong with her. Just because she's able to perform her job duties doesn't mean that there are reasons why she shouldn't be using the handicapped placard. There could be a number of different reasons that a person with a disability could even have an invisible disability. And, she keeps mentioning that she's a vet. So it's quite possible that maybe even I could see a scenario where maybe she has some PTSD from her service, and perhaps walking long distances out in an open parking lot, I could see how that could be triggering for someone maybe who has served in the military. So, or maybe, if they hear a car backfire or something, maybe that could trigger a PTSD episode or whatever. And so it doesn't even need to be a physical disability for you to need to use the disability placard. But I cannot even believe that she just said to this person who has a disability placard and so clearly has a disability under the law that there's nothing physically wrong with her. That is not her place to say that. And I do believe that the way that she is treating this employee right now is totally a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Oh, so you're determining my disability based off of
If you
physical...
can work on the line like you have been all day, then...
Okay, so you're basically saying the VA is full of shit and my 100% disability is invalid. Because of that...
100% disabled, you would not be able to work.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this person, this manager of this restaurant, is not a medical doctor because she's working in a restaurant, not in a health facility. And so she does not have the proper credentials to say whether someone has a disability or not. Again, I just piggyback and reiterate what my previous assessment was. Total violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and it's also super disrespectful not only to this person with disability but also to this veteran. This person served our country, and this is the way that you're treating her. And the VA, I know from just experience with my own clients that the VA is not always the easiest organization to work with. They're a great organization for being able to provide services and whatnot, but it's my understanding that they're pretty difficult to work with. And, this employee is saying that she's been deemed 100% disabled. That's a really hard standard to get. But, if she got it, she got it. And, that's between she and her doctor and the VA. And it is not any of her employer's business. The only way that it is her employer's business is, can you do the work necessary required of you? And do you need any accommodations to complete your work?
So what you're saying is
let alone work 3 jobs.
So you're saying you're harassing your disabled employee because you feel I don't appear disabled. Is that correct?
I'm just telling you what my boss told me.
I didn't ask that.
I'm telling you what my boss... I'm dropping it.
Okay.
That's what my boss told me.
Okay, so
that's the end of it.
I'm going to go ahead and clock out now because, again, you're creating a hostile work environment.
Ooh, legal jargon. Hostile work environment. Now, a lot of people misuse that terminology. It is not against the law to be an asshole. Your boss can totally be an asshole. They just can't treat you unfairly based on a protected category. Such as your race, your religious background, your ethnicity, or your status as a disabled person. I'm loving how she's handling this. She's staying calm. I mean, you can tell she's upset, but she's still keeping her cool. She's remaining collected, and she's just getting the information, documenting it. And if this woman came to me and asked me to review her case and give her a free consultation, I would gladly do this, and I would gladly represent this woman in court, just because, the way that this employer is treating her, this employer clearly needs to be retrained. And so the employee should definitely contact HR and let them know about that. And she could probably argue for, hey, I'm going to hire a lawyer, or you can give me, 8 weeks of severance.
I'm gonna write you up.
And I'm going to clock out because you're creating a hostile work environment. And if you write me up, it's considered retaliation.
No, it's not.
And I'm gonna go ahead
I'm telling you, I'm writing.
and I'm gonna go ahead and report this to the ADA for you creating a hostile work environment.
Why don't you just
I know you really want that,
I'm not the only one.
but I don't care.
I am not the only one. Trust me, that.
Well, I'm glad that you're now on camera admitting you're trying to get me to quit. I appreciate that. Thank you.
David.
Thank you. So, all of this is being recorded?
No, it's not. It's
Yes.
not voice.
All of this has been recorded.
It's not voice.
All of this has been recorded.
You can't record me
Actually,
without my knowledge.
You can, because you've just been notified.
Okay, so the whole recording, whether you have permission to record or not, that is a sticky situation, because on the one hand, they're out in public, right? They're at a workplace. On the other hand, it's private property, even though they're in public. Like there's no reasonable expectation of privacy here. And so I would argue that because there's not an reasonable expectation of privacy, that the employee can record things. But the manager was sort of right too in saying, you can't record without my permission. A lot of states, I know that here in California, there is a penal code that states that you can't record people without their permission if it's expected that they're having a private conversation with you. Clearly, this woman is holding up her phone and recording this correspondence between these two people. So it's clear, it should be clear to this manager that she's being recorded. It's true that she didn't give permission to be recorded, but again, it's in a public place, so I don't know that she had a reasonable expectation of privacy, or that she had any type of expectation that this was a private conversation. So if I don't recall where this happened, but if it was here in California, that's how I would interpret the application of that penal code. That you're having this conversation. I mean, you're sort of shouting back and forth with this employee in the middle of the kitchen of a restaurant. That's not really a private space. If they were like in the manager's office having this conversation, then the manager might have a better argument for, you can't record me without my permission. But out in the open like this, you can see other employees walking around in the background. So I don't really think that law about recording people, I don't think that applies here.
Yeah, after the fact.
No, I just started.
You know what? Go home. Go home. You don't argue with your assistant.
I'm not arguing.
You are.
I'm definitely not arguing.
Go home. Clock out, go home.
Okay. So you're sending me home for what again?
Because you're arguing with me.
Arguing with you about what?
Go home, I said.
I just want to know why I'm being sent home.
Clock out and go home now.
Okay.
And I will not tell you again.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call Margarita.
Go ahead.
And send her this video. Because you've been recorded for harassing a disabled vet and creating a hostile work environment.
I will clock you out myself.
Okay, and now this manager is committing what's called retaliation, which is if someone speaks up about their rights and complains that their rights in the workplace are being violated, if they speak up about that and you retaliate against them, and in this case, she's making her go home, clock out and go home for arguing with her when all this employee was doing was trying to defend herself and understand why she was being treated this way. And this manager, if I was the lawyer for this restaurant, I would definitely either advise that the manager be terminated or at least retrained on several different issues. And then the other thing that I didn't like is how she sort of barged over past the employee to clock her out. Clocking her out is in and of itself its own issue. It's, retaliation, like I mentioned, but the way she stormed over like that, I found to be kind of threatening. And I think it could be deemed assault. And assault, a lot of people, they get battered and they say, you assaulted me. Well, no, you battered them. So assault is when you threaten, and when there's a threat of some sort of, touching of your body or your person without your permission. And so, here the way that she barged over, I found to be threatening. And, for good measure, I'd go ahead and throw an assault charge on that civil complaint, as well as an intentional infliction of emotional distress, because this manager is just being mean to this disabled person at this point, and it's a real shame that she's not treating her with respect and giving her the rights that the disabled person has as a disabled person, but also as a veteran. This woman served our country. We need to be treating our veterans better than this.
Okay, do me a favor. Yeah. You're gonna record. You're gonna be a cool guy. And
I'm not a cool guy. I'm not a cool guy. You're ridiculous.
Are you
You're ridiculous, man.
Are you recording?
Somebody gonna tell you shoot this guy. You're gonna shoot this guy.
Really?
Eek. Again, you can't go around telling people that you're gonna shoot them or that somebody else is gonna shoot them. That absolutely could be construed as a violent threat of harm. And that is not free speech. A lot of people think, oh, that's free speech. I can say whatever I want. It's a free country. Not completely 100%. No, that's not true. So threats of violence are not protected by the Constitution. And, him telling this employee who's clearly trying to just do his job, and it's sort of a captive audience because he can't retreat. He's at work. And telling him that someone's going to shoot him between the eyes or whatever he said, that is assault.
Yeah, you will.
Just call the police and you threaten
me. Me? Threatening you?
Yep. You just threaten
I put it's on video. I show the police.
It is on video. I'll call somebody to shoot you. That's what you just said. I'm going to call the police right now.
If somebody tell you to shoot somebody, you're going to shoot somebody? That was my question.
That's what you just
said. Don't twist it. So don't twist it on me.
I'm going to call Irvine PD.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
You're associate.
You're not going to record anything. It's against the law.
No, it's not.
It's a done deal. It's a no.
No, it's not. We can have this conversation right now. You can't just say what's against the law. You have to explain that to me.
So here's another case where people are trying to throw law out there when they clearly don't understand the law. It looks like this is some sort of a department store. And so this person, again, technically it is a public space. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy in this space, even though it is technically private property. It's public in the sense that there's no expectation of privacy. And so you should be able to record in the store. However, some stores do have policies that you not take pictures of their merchandise or things of that nature. And I think that that's fair. There are intellectual property issues there. This person, though, it appears to be an employee dealing with a disgruntled customer, and he just tells him, you can't record in here, it's against the law, and walks away. That's not 100% true. It might be the store's policy that you not record inside the store, and if you don't follow their policy, they can ask you to leave. Again, because this is private property, they can't ask people to leave, and those people need to leave, or otherwise they're trespassing. But then again, the other guy, says, oh, you can't just spat off the law. You have to sit here and explain it to me. That's not really the case. If you're trying to defend yourself or explain what the law is and try to get someone to abide by it, then surely you would want to stay and explain it to them. But it's certainly not your responsibility to explain the law, the way the law works, to other people.
Ma'am, you have to come back and tell me what you are saying. Okay. No.
Good looking. I told you you're going to go around there and get it.
If you're gonna say something, you have to back it up with proof.
Once you
Same
said
way
you're going to record, I'm not going to do anything.
But
you're recording
you're recording
now,
me.
So stop.
You're recording me in the store.
You
I
can
don't
stop.
give you my
Okay.
permission.
I'm going to ask you to leave the store right now. Michael, come on.
No, you can't just throw
Yes,
someone out.
Yes, we can.
She is right. They can just throw you out if you're causing a scene, or so people that are working in these private entities do have the right to refuse service to anyone. I'm sure you've seen signs. Usually those signs are like at bars and restaurants, but it's true for even department stores too. If they don't like you, they can throw you out.
Yes, we can.
Well, under what terms?
Because you're disrupting business, and I'm asking you to leave.
I'm not disrupting.
You're going to leave. Call the police, Michael. Please. Call the police, Michael.
What happened? Okay.
Get the police, Michael.
She recorded in the store, okay?
She said it's for me.
Okay.
Now
I understand, but you can't record in the store.
you can bring.
It's private property.
Okay.
Right. So here they're saying you can't record in the store. It's private property. And they're right. They're right in that it's private property. And so they get to sort of make the rules for their private entity, their private organization, and the way that they want people to conduct business inside that entity. But to base the fact that you can't record because it's private property isn't exactly totally right.
We actually not doing
The same way, if the police come here, they're gonna tell you the same thing. It's been through this.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
I
They
work
go-
with the police. That's my job.
Okay.
They work here.
Please stop recording.
I'm not gonna stop recording because I feel like I'm not safe as y'all saying y'all not safe as me.
Well, the police on the way.
But I need an explanation. Oh, you said to me you saw something on video that your associate
Police are
said.
coming. Don't even say any more words.
But you told me that I done something that I didn't do anything but try to return things to the store. I need to get my stuff. You can't record me on your personalized phone. That's against the law too. Whatever y'all making up, you're an employee working here. So if you can't record stuff on your phone.
I do think that it is a little bit of a double standard that they're telling him that he's not allowed to record what's going on when he clearly feels like he's not safe as far as his rights being violated and people being hostile towards him. He just wants to get it all documented. But then, they're telling him to stop recording, but then apparently somebody else, an employee of the store, was recording the incident too. And so that is a double standard. Don't really know if that's appropriate. I don't really see like a legal analysis there.
There's nothing. You guys don't have it. Because it doesn't exist because we're not criminals. Does anybody have specific and articulate facts of a crime to lead to a car frisk or a arrest? Because they need that in order to arrest us, and there is none. There is no specific and articulate facts of a crime to lead to a car frisk or an arrest. No, but when the officers started getting scary, I locked the doors.
You locked the doors. You stayed in your car for half an hour, is that right?
Begging them for due process, absolutely. Well, they would not give due process and look up the code.
Did you resist arrest?
In no way, shape, or form did I resist arrest. That's why Officer B told me I could leave with identification.
When they pulled you out of the vehicle, did you resist what they were trying to ask you to do?
Absolutely not.
Did you resist their commands?
Absolutely not. Officer B said I may leave with identification.
Are you resisting right there? Their commands?
I'm asking them what they're doing.
How many officers does it take is holding you down right there? Are there 4
I'm
officers
seeing them all
there?
have their hands off me, so I'm seeing 4 around me, but I'm not seeing 4 pushing on me at all. I'm seeing more.
So this woman is a member of actually a couple that's appearing in court on this day. And the couple was apparently arrested during some sort of a traffic stop. It sounds like there was a reasonable, the police did have probable cause to stop the car, the vehicle. I think it was a taillight was out or the registration was off or something. And so instead of just complying with the police officers, this couple started spouting off all of this sovereign citizen bullcrap, which it is. It's bullcrap. And the other thing that I find kind of humorous about this, it's really cringeworthy. I'm going to have you watch it here in a second. It's super cringeworthy to watch these people act like they know what they're talking about when it's so clear that they're so clueless. And, they'll do things like, yeah, that's what I thought. Exactly. When no, it's like, it's not going well for you. Like, just put your weapon down, put your shovel down. You're digging yourself deep enough as it is. But they just keep going. And then it comes out later that they want to be lawyers. And that sort of doesn't compute. That doesn't align with sovereign. So sovereign citizenship, sovereign means like separate and not affected by the laws of another, right? And so if you're going to claim that you're a sovereign citizen, but then you also want to be a lawyer is a scholar of the law. A lawyer studies the law. A lawyer applies the law. Like, that's what you do. So you can't, I think that it's sort of impossible to be both. You can't be a sovereign citizen and a lawyer unless you're studying the law to say that you're not going to abide by it. And as long as you're on U.S. soil, you have to abide by U.S. law. Like, that's just the way it is. That's the way that we keep order. That's the way that we keep civility. And if you don't abide by the law, then you're going to get arrested and you're going to be punished. That's the way it has to be. Is our justice system flawed? Totally. There's so many issues with our justice system, but it's the best thing that we have figured out how to use so far.
There are 4 officers right there.
There's 4 officers standing around me that are not
And this is after you've been in the car for 30 minutes, is that correct?
begging for due process, absolutely.
On the back of my license, on the back of the car, that was written down.
Saw some numbers on a piece of paper.
Do you know what those numbers are?
Nope.
Do you know the law?
Yes.
Apparently not.
Do you know what the term jurisprudence means?
I've heard terms of relevance, Your Honor. Sustained.
Was I forcefully trying to get away?
No, you were being removed from the vehicle that you wouldn't get out.
I was not forcefully trying to get away. Is that resisting of arrest for not forcefully trying to get away?
Yeah, you're actually still resisting arrest.
Officer, no, you're saying that you do not know what the code the code that was affixed to the vehicle means, which means that you might have violated the law.
Objection, calls for legal.
Okay.
Sustained.
You don't know what the law means then on that.
Objection, sustained.
Okay. When you were in the hallway, and you were talking to an officer, did you assume facts not in evidence about my state of mind, my beliefs?
Objection, calls for coup. Legal conclusion.
Ugh, cringe. She's so misstating the law, and it's so first of all, her partner, her boyfriend or husband or whomever, is trying to say that he wasn't resisting arrest. He was not complying. He was refusing to be arrested. He did not consent to the arrest, but he wasn't resisting, which clearly they have video of it. That's clearly not the case. It took multiple police officers. They had to drag him out of his car. I think they might have even smashed the windows of the car to get them out. So clearly he was resisting. They both were. And so, he's misunderstanding and misapplying the law here when he says, was I like resist? I wasn't resisting, was I? And the officer is like, well, yeah, you wouldn't get out of the car. And the officer's right here. If the officer tells you to get out of the car, you best just do it. Just get out of the car. Because, the officers, that can escalate very quickly. The way to keep control in a situation where you're being pulled over and you feel like your criminal rights are being infringed upon is to still comply with everything that all of the officials are asking of you, and then hire a lawyer later. Because your safety, the safety of the officers, and then also your future liberty. You could be arrested and charged with all kinds of different things like resisting arrest, like this couple did, and now they're shackled and they're appearing in court in scrubs, ugly prison scrubs. So let's see what else they have to say. Oh, so now this woman is saying, when we were in the hallway, did you assume facts not in evidence about my state of mind? Okay, stop. So assumes facts not in evidence is actually a code. It's an evidence code or a procedural code for how to conduct yourself in court. It doesn't apply to law enforcement officers or peace officers. It applies to lawyers and litigants bringing in evidence into court, assuming facts not in evidence. She's talking about something that didn't even happen in court. So it's totally not applicable to the situation of her and the officer being in the hallway. And it sounds like he made assumptions about her state of mind, which is totally fine. I mean, that's an important job that the officers have to do, analyzing someone's state of mind to know where to put them in the jail, to know if they need psychiatric help, etc., right? To keep them safe and the general public safe too. So assuming facts not in evidence about her state of mind that's just a bizarre thing to ask. So then you hear the prosecutor sitting on the other lawyer objecting to her questions. And rightly so. I would have done the same thing. Objection. And he says that it calls for a legal analysis. Or at least he tries to say that. He kind of stumbles through it. And he's totally right on. You can't ask a non-lawyer questions about the law when they're just appearing as just witnesses. So he was totally right to object, and then the judge sustained the objection, which means the judge agreed with the objection and applied it. Let's see what else they have to say.
Yeah.
Did that what now?
Did you assume facts that were not in evidence concerning my state of mind and my beliefs? Saying that I believe something about...
They said no.
Okay. Well, clearly we've got an issue then.
To know specific and articulable facts of a crime that I have committed. The Secretary of State, the UCC office told me over an hour that I have the right to claim my natural rights as a human being under common law, under God's law.
Oh, again, I'm cringing. The UCC? The Uniform Commercial Code? What does that have to do with your criminal case? The UCC is a set of laws that governs like commercial transactions and things like that. It has nothing to do with the penal code. It has nothing to do with criminal court. So I don't know why he's saying the UCC office, unless he's talking about the United Church of Christ. I guess it could be that too. So, and then he says that the UCC office told him that he has a right to state what his rights are under the as a natural citizen. I don't think that anyone has threatened his citizenship or tried to apply a set of laws that doesn't apply to him as a citizen. So I don't know why he thinks that that's helpful to say. And he says, my rights as a natural citizen, my rights as a under the common law. So common law doesn't really exist in America anymore. Common law came from England, and it's what we sort of started out using when, in the 17 and 1800s. But we've codified and come up with our own set of laws since then, and I don't know of any common law that still exists today. I mean, people talk about common law marriage, and that's really not even a thing, at least in California. It's not. You can talk about being a putative spouse, which is sort of similar, but common law doesn't. We don't follow. Nobody, no court follows common law anymore.
Which is the jurisdiction under UCC remedy, which I did inform the police before all this, that they do not recognize the law, even though the code says any conflicting code is invalid. We do not understand how we could be arrested with no crime or no due process. There is no injured party. I'm an extremely law-abiding citizen. I'm a peaceful man. I do not have any history of crimes nor violence under me.
Okay, so now he's saying that, there was no crime committed. Clearly there was. When you are disobeying a police officer, when they tell you to step out of the car, when they tell you to show your identification or your license or whatever, and you don't do it, that's a crime. So, you clearly created, the first crime was whatever you were doing to get pulled over. So it sounds like in this case, they had a taillight out or something. And so, yeah, I mean, that's in most states, there are laws about having, your car has to have several elements to it, including two taillights for safety. And so, that's the first thing that he did wrong. And then the second thing he did wrong is not comply with the police officer, which is a crime in most states. And then, resisting arrest. We've all heard resisting arrest. So, his claim that no crime was committed is, that's easily argued against. And then, him saying that there was no victim to his crime. Well, or that no one was injured. So that may be true, and that's great that nobody was injured. It's definitely a mitigating factor in sentencing. But it doesn't really. It's character evidence. He's trying to bolster his character before it's even been really like assassinated. And so, the prosecution, I would have objected to that statement as inadmissible character evidence. This reminds me so much of the old adage you may have heard: "He who represents himself has a fool for a client." And this case, gosh, nothing illustrates that more than this case. Let's see what other crazy things he has to say.
I'm completely vegetarian. I won't even kill an animal to eat it. I believe that I love all sentient human beings and all sentient beings on this planet, God's creatures. I believe there has been no crime taking place and that there are conflicting laws here.
No legal cause of action whatsoever to ever order a car frisk. There's no.
So again, it seems as if both of them are under this impression that no crime has been committed, and as she's saying, no legal cause of action. Well, the cause of action is the crime for which you were arrested. So probably, I think for her it was resisting arrest. For him, it was, failure to comply with a police officer and resisting arrest. So, there's definitely a cause of action.
Crime, and there was no legal cause of action whatsoever to order an arrest. If you'll notice, there's no crime, and there's no specific and articulate facts ever given to us about a crime, because there was no crime. It's very important to note that we spent a long time learning the law.
So both of them are also saying that there's some sort of conflicting laws. They never say what those conflicting laws are. If they're talking about the UCC that they keep citing, that's just crazy to me, because the UCC, again, is the Uniform Commercial Code. I have no idea what. I would be interested in hearing what laws they're saying conflict, and analyzing that. But they're, instead of, they're making arguments that they think are legal arguments, but they're not, and instead they should be testifying about the facts. I love that too. She says, it should be noted that we're studying the law. Okay, lady, clearly you're not studying the law hard enough. And also, if you're studying the law, like, that's not an argument. There's the understanding that the ignorance of the law is never a defense. And I would say the same thing is true about the knowledge of the law, that that's not really a defense either. If you're studying the law, I mean, you're arguing against yourself here, because if you're studying the law and you're arguing that you know the law, then you should have known that you have a duty to comply with the police officers when they are asking you to do things during a reasonable traffic stop. And so, saying that you understand the law or that you're studying the law could not possibly help you in this situation. I think that oftentimes police officers and lawyers and judges, we're all held to a higher standard because we understand the law. And so because we understand the law so well, we're expected to be the ones that follow it the best, right? And so arguing that you are studying the law only hurts your argument, only hurts your position. If you're studying the law, then you should have known not to, that what you were doing was criminal in nature.
And that we're law lovers, and we actually are trying to be lawyers. There are two different conflicting laws, and it has definitely injured us at this point. Your Honor, not to resist arrest, to be safe because we were afraid, because we were not having due process, and we kept asking for half an hour. And we were saying, please, go and read the...
Exactly what you're getting right now, lady. Due process of law does not mean that you avoid arrest. It means that you have the right to a speedy trial, and you have all of these inalienable rights to put on a good defense, etc., and that you have due process of law. You're entitled to a hearing, you're entitled to a jury of your peers, etc., etc. That was so much fun watching those cringeworthy videos with you all, and giving some legal analysis on the legal claims that were being made. I would love to make another video like this, so if there are any cringeworthy videos that you would like me to analyze, or any other Law and Order episodes or anything like that that you would like for me to comment on and analyze and include on my channel, please do leave a comment in the comments below and let me know. Also, let me know what you thought of this video. What did you think about the different scenarios, and what did you think about my picks and my comments and my legal analyses? Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you real soon in the next one. Bye, love you.